I'll be honest. When Wonka was announced a while back, I couldn't have cared less. I had zero interest. None. I thought, here we go, just another studio cash grab going back to the well of a well known property and dressing it up as new. But then, about a month or two ago, I read that the director was none other than Paul King. And Paul King is responsible for directing two of the most important cinematic masterpieces in the history of cinema. Those two movies are Paddington and Paddington 2. When I realized King was directing Wonka, my interest went from 0 to 1,000. So, did Wonka live up to my expectations? You bet your ass it did.
You see, I'm something of a magician, inventor, and chocolate maker. So quiet up and listen down.
Wonka is a prequel story of the great chocolate maker Willy Wonka. He has a dream of opening up his own chocolate shop, but he soon discovers that the chocolate industry is run by a cartel of greedy chocolatiers. So here's the thing. You need to meet this movie on its own terms. If you like feel-good family romps, then there's a lot to love with this movie. However, if you don't like family feel-good films and you just like watching John Wick murder hundreds of people, then I would probably skip this one. And I'm not throwing shade at John Wick or anyone who likes those movies. I, for one, enjoy them. I'm just saying that this movie has a specific tone, and if you're not into it, you're probably going to have a rough time. This is unabashedly a feel-good family fun time, which is no surprise here. As I said, this is the guy behind the Paddington movies, so it's to be expected. So as long as you're willing and ready for this kind of film, you'll probably love it, just as I did. I have to admit, it felt refreshing to watch this type of movie. After what seemed like action movie after action movie, or indie drama after indie drama, it felt good to sit in a theater watching a good old-fashioned, cute, lighthearted family film. The characters are fun, Wonka is fun, the tone is fun. This movie just put a big old smile on my face and warmed my nearly dying black heart. It's hard not to get swept away in the charm of this film. And what helps the charm is not only the tone, but of Willy Wonka himself. Timothée Chalamet does a fantastic job here. Wonka is relatable, he's funny, and most of all, he's sweet. His kindness and his drive for wanting to be successful at doing something he loves is both relatable and entertaining. You want him to succeed. Hell, we already know he succeeds, but watching Wonka on his journey is such a charming ride. The musical numbers here are mostly a joy to watch. Not all of the songs are catchy, but they get the job done nonetheless. And with the exception of maybe one musical scene I can think of, they all happen at just the right moment. I admit I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. I'll take a normal speaking film over a song and dance one any day of the week. But with that being said, the musical aspect of the film never really bothered me. I do wish there were like bigger musical numbers though, with like dozens of extras. I can get down on a big sweeping musical number where dozens of people are involved, all dancing in sync. Now, this does happen once or twice throughout the film, but they don't last very long. Most of the musical numbers are done in small locations with just a character or two. I would have loved to have seen something bigger, something massive, where there's like hundreds of people dancing all in sync within like a beautiful wide shot. Would have loved more of that, but what can you do? And the story here is pretty engaging. It boils down to Wonka wanting to make enough money to open a chocolate store, but the neighboring chocolate rivals prevent that from happening at all costs. It's ultimately a story about the have and have-nots, and it works here in Wonka. Every time Wonka is set back, you're wondering how he's going to bounce back, and you're in it. At least I was. Watching Wonka and his little entourage fight back against the chocolate cartel is such a joy and makes for some crowd-pleasing moments. The only negative thoughts I have about the film is that it felt a tad bit too long. They could have shaved off a few scenes, and I think the overall result would have been tighter. I also feel like Keegan-Michael Key was a bit underused. I would have loved to have seen him more throughout the film because I think he has such a great comedic energy about him that the film could benefit from. I also didn't love Wonka's sidekick Noodle. She's a decent enough character, but I was more interested in Wonka's journey and not so much hers. And without spoiling too much about the ending really relies heavily on the fact that you care a lot about Noodle. And for me, that emotional thread didn't quite land with me. In the end, if you like the Paddington movies, if you like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or if you're just here for Timothée Chalamet, you're probably going to enjoy this. However, as I said before, if you're just an action movie guy or woman that has zero interest in these kind of films, then I would pass on Wonka, as you'll probably think it's stupid and corny. I, for one, had a great time with it, and if you let its charm sink into your heart, you will too. That's it, folks. If you like the sound of my voice, please hit that like button and subscribe. And until the next time, I say cheers.